Hi there. This is Kellen Flukiger, host of Results with Kellen. I really appreciate you coming and being on the show with me today. You know, all of my life, I've been dedicated to achieving amazing results. For some reason, ever since the time I was young, I was stuck in a paradigm, and I don't mean that in a bad way, of achieving absolutely the best possible performance or results in everything that I did. I'm not sure if it was something in my upbringing or whatever, but as a result, I've led what many would consider to be a really peculiar life. I've been an executive in a couple of different countries, a concert pianist and a painter and a martial artist and a recording artist and a performance coach and an executive and so forth. But what that has taught me is that the tools for success in achieving results are the same across all disciplines. What I also learned on this journey is that my real passion is helping people achieve awesome results, and that's why I created this program, Results with Kellen. And in order to do that, what I've done is also bring, as you know, a host of world-class mentors here to give you tools and opportunities to achieve the kind of results that you want in your life. So before we start today's program, there's just a couple of things that I'd like to do, or ask you to do, for housekeeping so that you can get the most out of today's program. And the first is, I want you to go to our interview page. Now let me tell you how to get there. Up in your browser address bar, type www.resultswithkellen, RESULTSWITHKELLAN.com/Larry, Larry, which of course is the name of our guest. So if you go to that page, then you'll get the most out of today's broadcast. And now on that page there are several things you could do. What I'd like you to do is scroll down to the comment section, because during this interview you're going to think of things. Larry's going to say some things, or I might, that are going to either spark questions or things that quotes you want to write down. And so what I want you to do in that comment section is put these quotes and thoughts or questions in there, and it'll help you get the most out of today's interview. The second thing is that Larry has consented and will be giving us a free gift, actually giving you, our viewers, my audience, a free gift just for watching this interview. And we'll be talking more about that in a moment. So I'm going to introduce our guest here, and he's got a really interesting intro. So let me read this to you so you get a flavor of who we've got today. Get used to the idea that you can become anyone you want. That's one of the quotes that Larry Hochman has been using to introduce himself to the world over the past few years, and it's truth. He's just one of the living examples of it, along with some of the people he's trained. More truth. He's helped people launch successful businesses, find love and romance, lose weight, get stronger and healthier, and just get more satisfaction out of their lives. Even more truth. He's helped clients become multi-millionaires, sign book deals, and do other stuff that you look at and say, how did that bald dude do all that? Well, he didn't do it. He helped people discover it in themselves. And the way he was able to do that was to find it in himself. With that, welcome to the show, Larry.
It is an absolute pleasure to be here, Kellen. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm really glad that you made time to come and teach us a bit about your journey and about the tools and wisdom that you've gained along the way to help people achieve results, which of course is what we do here on this show. So what I'd like you to do is tell me a little bit about your journey. Tell me about how you were drawn to the place that you are right now, and what are some of the things that you've learned along the way?
You know, and I say this most of the time when I'm being interviewed, if you had drawn a straight line, and I have immense respect for the people who did some extraordinary things. You look at some of the people who were luminaries in personal development, the people who came back from drug addiction, from homelessness, from life-threatening illnesses. I love those people, and I have things I can learn from them. I'm not one of them. My sister and I were raised by two loving parents. I never had any of those things. The son of an electrician and a legal secretary. And I went to college. I did all the right stuff. I felt myself slipping away. I became a high school guidance counselor. And I said, at a certain point, I said, is this all there is? And I watched things slowly slip away. Everything that I had been working for. Um, I lost the joy of living, and I lost all of the fun, and our finances were in a terrible place. And I don't know if that we were going to save this for later, but there was a skill that I picked up in college, and you've been in my audience, so you know what's coming next. Um, when I was 20 years old, and I felt that absolute lack of confidence, I learned how to juggle. And a weird thing happened. I mean, any number of things that were weird, but I turned that thing into a program, because along the way I learned about education, and I learned about leadership through the formal training that I had. But my 20-year-old brain made the connection that if I can learn how to juggle, I can learn how to do anything that I wanted, and it turned out to be truth. Because what happened is I used juggling as a metaphor, and I really did start to heal myself. I really did get happier. I really did get more financially in a really good place. The relationships that I had healed, and I just had a lot. My body healed, and I just had a lot of fun. And along the way, I said, what's stopping other people from doing this? And I systematized it, and people started getting attracted to it, and it turned into a thing. And yeah, I've had some, I've helped some people get successes along the way. But what really happened is I made it so that anyone, no matter what their starting point, again, not necessarily the people who were in the worst places, but people like me who were in that mediocrity, said, I can become that thing. And that's really where it started.
Well, thank you. If you're like me, you sound like you are in this way, and many of our listeners, I'm sure, can relate. You've spent a lot of time and maybe money looking at big answers to important questions like, is it really possible to get what I want out of life? Or how come it seems so hard to manifest or create the life I want? Or is there some special secret that other people know that I don't? Or what does it really take to create the life that I want, and questions like that. I know that one of the things in you and I've had a number of conversations in the time that we've known each other, and one of the things that we've talked about that you mentioned that I thought was so interesting that I personally resonated with me because I struggled with it a bit was about receiving. And so we're taught this mantra, it's better to give than to receive as children. And so we put up this barrier to receive, and based on some of the things you've talked about and the story that you were just telling me, learning how to receive seems like a big, important, perhaps block or skill. Can you talk a little bit about why it seems so hard to learn to receive and how that plays into those accomplishments that you were
Sure. Absolutely. We're programmed, and I don't think I'm going to tell any secrets here. And if you look at the culture and the literature that we we hear it. And you use the expression. It's absolutely true. It's better to give to receive than to receive. Simple math tells us that it's just not true. I mean, for every act of giving, there has to be somebody to receive. So if you say to somebody, it's better to give than to receive. Well, if you're all set to give, who is there to receive it? And it really is a balanced equation. And the reason why people will say, and this is going to challenge a few people, Kellen, but when people say it's better to give than to receive, I'm going to come back and say not being willing to receive is a denial of personal responsibility. Because if you're willing to give and give and give and give, it's psychologically easier to give because it doesn't require anything. You can give away everything that you have, and you haven't accepted, you haven't allowed yourself to become anything else. If you receive, if you take in the good stuff, if you take in money, if you take in health, if you take in love, you have a responsibility to be a steward of that thing. And it's much easier for someone to give everything away because then they have no responsibility for everything. If I'm receiving what you have to give, if I'm receiving your money for something that I've given you, if I'm receiving your respect for who I've been to you, there's a responsibility in that. And most people really don't want that responsibility. So the act of receiving is not selfish. On the contrary, the act of receiving is the most life-affirming and selfless thing that we can do. And when someone's genuinely willing to receive, and I make a differentiation between receiving and taking, because taking is when you give some, or you take something out of manipulation or out of greed or out of bullying. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the cycle of lovingly accepting what you have to give for value.
If receiving is such an important thing, and you have a responsibility when you receive, like you've described, why is it so hard for us to learn to feel good about receiving?
Because we don't see ourselves as worthy of taking it in. We don't see ourselves as worthy of accepting the responsibility that goes along with the receiving. We don't see ourselves as someone who, for lack of a better way of putting it, is not going to screw it up when we get it. And one of the things I teach is, yeah, you're going to screw it up when you get it. There's no learning that doesn't happen without mistakes. But there's also no learning that doesn't happen without the joy of figuring out that, yeah, I got this. And that's, in my own personal journey, that was a big part of we're all accustomed to making mistakes. We're all accustomed to beating ourselves over the head when it happens. We're not necessarily as accustomed to saying, yeah, I deserve this, and feeling good and doing our happy dance and then moving on to the next thing.
So one of the things that you talk about is the receiving gene, and you talk about it like it's a piece of DNA, and that is a metaphor. And I thought it was an interesting metaphor, and it made me wonder about, we act according to this, our programming, our DNA, and everything else. And so when you talk about the receiving gene, we need to learn to activate it and, bring it alive or make it happen. Is our nature really programmed that deep? Are we that afraid? I mean, what you just said is, if I'm willing to receive, I'm going to screw it up, and I'm not willing to have the stewardship that comes with truly receiving, because it's easier to give it away and have no responsibility. So in this receiving gene, even used as a metaphor, the question I really have is our nature really programmed that deep to resist the responsibility of receiving?
I think it is. I don't know that it's our nature, and I certainly know that it's our habit. I mean, we can get into this debate all day, and is it our nature not to receive, or is it the conditioning? And the answer to that is yes. It's both, and I don't know. Is it this or is it this? And the answer is yes, it absolutely is.
Okay.
And the thing that I've had some pretty good success with, when I got my master's degree in counseling, I remember one of the professors said, "Why is usually a wasted question," and I'm going to expand on that a little bit. So many people who I work with will say, "Well, before I can heal myself, I've got to figure out why I'm like this," and it makes sense on the surface. It's also totally untrue. When somebody, and this is the 5-step process I've developed to receiving, really to anything, but once you start getting into action, once you start allowing yourself to feel better than you feel right now, the why always shows up. And if you ask yourself why at the beginning stages, usually that is a dodge not to get into action. Well, I've got to figure out why I'm doing this before I can fix it. No, you don't. All you got to do is start. The why shows up, but you're in a better position to deal with that why. You laugh at it and you let it go. So to answer your question, is it nature or nurture? Is it an environment or genetics? The answer is yes. As you go along, you figure out what it is for you.
Well, I wasn't actually trying to get the nature or nurture question, because I don't know the answer either. I mean, we're divine beings, but we have flaws, and so let's leave that one where it is. You said something about a 5-step process that unlocks something or is a key to something. So, and following along that road helps us understand the why better. So if why is the wrong question to ask first because it's a dodge or a waste of time, Okay. So tell me, what are those 5 steps? Teach us. What are those 5 steps in terms of moving forward? And I realize that it's a whole course, so I'm, just the short version of tell me about that.
Okay, the bullet point version of it is step one is, well, there's some pre-steps that you have to go through before you're willing to, and this, at the very beginning, when you were doing your introduction, I noticed something. You mentioned how people have a hard time seeing themselves with the same success. Why does this person um, can do all these same things when I have no clue how to do it? When we're basically all dealing with the same gray matter, the same brain power, and we're all dealing with the same 24 hours a day. The reason is because they position themselves for success. So I'll go over the 5 steps. I'm happy to do that. But until you feel worthy of making it happen, until you see yourself in that success, um, it's an academic exercise. But let me answer the question. Step one is you always start, and it doesn't matter what you are doing right now. It doesn't matter. I don't even want you out of your comfort zone. I want you just starting. Whatever you decide, the thing that's most important to you. Step one is to start. Step two is to gradually move out of your comfort zone. So if you're learning how to juggle, because that's the big one that I work with, and it's a great metaphor, but if you're learning how to juggle, step one, you're just taking the ball and you're tossing it up in the air and you're catching it with your dominant hand. No big deal for most people. Step two is you're doing the same thing, but you're doing it with your opposite hand. So you're moving a little bit out of your comfort zone, not to the point where you're going to get paralyzed by fear, but to the point where you are activating that fringe of fear, not so far out that you're paralyzed, but you're moving out of your comfort zone, and what you're able to do and willing to do starts to expand. Step three is you start attracting the resources to you. When you move out of your comfort zone and when you're in activity, you start to draw people. You start to draw money. You start to draw circumstances that you didn't see yourself in before, but all of a sudden you got, and you look back and you say, now how did this happen? I don't recognize where I am. And it's very simply because you started and because you grew and you started drawing the crowd. So first 3 steps are they do kind of make sense. Step four is when magic happens. That is when there is a shift. I call it a paradigm shift, and some other people will call it a quantum leap. But you change the way you do business. You change, you make a shift in the way you do stuff. So if it's juggling, you're changing your timing. If it's publishing a book, you're doing something different so that what looked like gobbledygook before now looks like a book. If you are building a business, you've activated something so that you're used to getting $100 a day, and all of a sudden you've earned $10,000 in a day. You say, "Oh, this isn't me," but you created a shift where it is. And then the fifth step is you just put it all together, where all these things that you've been doing all along come into a cohesive force, and you own the thing.
And if I can just summarize, 5 steps is to start doing something. Step 2 is move slightly out of your comfort zone. Number 3 is, oh, don't tell me. I need to remember. Oh, you start attracting resources and things to yourself. Number 4 is there's a shift, a significant shift that would be a quantum, step shift. And then number 5 is you put it all together. You made the comment to start with that you need to be able to see yourself in it. And to have a paradigm shift in your head, it sounds like. Talk a little bit more about that, the preamble before those steps make sense.
Sure. Most of us are not. In fact, I'm going to make the argument that there's no one who doesn't succeed because of lack of talent. There's no one who doesn't succeed because there are not enough resources around them. If you're watching this right now on a device, you have the resources. You don't have any more stuff than I do. I can juggle fairly well. I didn't grow up learning how to juggle. It's not something I learned until I was a young adult. We block ourselves because we don't activate what is inside us. So the first, you have to see yourself in it. You've got to clear out the mental and the emotional clutter that doesn't let you access the stuff. So um, as much as it's gotten a bad rap, I'm going to work on your self-esteem. And that word is difficult for people, so I'll use a different one. I'm going to work on your self-respect. I'm going to work on you seeing yourself as somebody who is good and wholesome and worthy, and will clear out the things and that say that you don't. But we're going to create a space, and this is where it gets a little metaphysical, but we're going to create a space within your here and here in your heart that says I can do this. And there's some very specific tools that I use. There's some anchoring, there's some meditation tools, but they're designed, and one of my things that I'm not a big fan of the word the other A word, the I'm blanking on the word, but I'm not a big fan of it.
Are you talking about like attraction?
I'm a huge fan of the word attraction. Affirmations. I'm not a huge fan of the word affirmations. But in reality, because affirmations to most people walk around saying, I am good, I am good, I am good, I am good, and you repeat it 1,000 times a day, and then on 1,001 you say, no, I'm not. So I am a big fan of pairing the self-talk, the affirmations, with a specific exercise that allows you to actually physically feel the worthiness, and to pair it with, to take the words and to pair it with something that you do, to actually physically buy into it, so that it's not just another silly affirmation, it's real. And once you own that, and you can hear my excitement rising while I'm talking about it, once you own it, now you're not coming at it like every other course where they said do this, 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 and follow the blueprint, and then you'll get whatever it is.
So you're talking about pairing an affirmation with some kind of physical or mental, but some kind of concrete action that helps you own it, specifically anchor it, make it real.
I'm talking about a physical. The mental follows the physical. The whole idea of something simply being mental just doesn't go with our biology. Our mental is our physical. So yes, I'm talking about an anchor behavior where you are actually putting yourself in an emotional peak state where you feel really good about something. You pair it with something, a physical attribute, and then you use that, and that permits you to access the 24 hours that we all have. That permits you, it gives you emotional permission to start using the capacities that we all have to make it happen. Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
So let's talk about a specific example that is really prevalent, particularly in Western society, and it's one that I have a experience with. We're all essentially the product of our own creation, action or inaction, whether we believe we can do things or believe we can't. It turns out that we create this reality. Today we see a huge epidemic of unhealthy lifestyles. We see a huge percentage of people that are overweight, that suffer from all kinds of problems associated with that, and many people who seek help, self-help, are doing it for lifestyle, weight, or not being in shape reasons. Myself, 20 years ago, I was seriously overweight, at one time also in my 30s, which was like 20-something years ago. So let's just talk concretely about a serious problem like that. And given the surroundings that we have of unhealthy eating and fast food and all of that, how do you use this work to help something that overcome something that's that important but so difficult, both from a mental point of view and from a sort of the setup around us, which is fast-paced lifestyle, quick this, quick that, make it so easy to get to fail? Talk about that for me, if you would.
Sure. Well, the first thing we're going to talk about with that is you and I live very fast-paced lifestyles. I'm sure of that. I know the stuff that you do. I know you jump on and off of planes. I know that I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning taking my daughter to school. I know that you and I live, and I know that you and I are in pretty good physical and emotional health. So the first thing I'm going to throw out the window is that our lifestyle and the pace at which we live is causing what's going on. Now, is it a contributing factor? Absolutely. Um, is it a causal? Do we have choices within the things that we do? We have choices in what we put into our bodies. We have choices every second of the day as to how we're going to, if I'm on a plane for 3 hours and I have half an hour of downtime, I'm going to use that downtime to nourish myself. I'm going to use that downtime to feed myself. I'm going to use that downtime to treat my body in a way that honors it. So that goes to the first thing. Are we worthy of taking care of ourselves? And it's not about the things that we do, because we can always choose things within the lifestyles that we choose. Shailene Johnson is jumping on and off of planes constantly. I mentioned her because my wife and I are having some interactions with her right now. But there are things that we do constantly that allow us to either be healthy or be unhealthy. And if we see ourselves as healthy people, the choices, the thousand little choices we make along the way are going to determine what happens to us. And if we allow ourselves to feel healthy and to be it, that's when you can start plugging into the 5-step process.
So what you're really saying, what you're really saying is that I don't get to use any kind of a cop-out about life or lifestyle for any of the things that I have, and that it's my own responsibility, is what it sounds like.
I'd love to give you that, Kellen, but I'm just not going to do it. And anyone else that I'm working with, they get PO'd to me every once in a while, but I lovingly take that away from them. Gently, though, not harshly.
So for those of you that joined in late, let me repeat what I said earlier. If you're not on Larry's speaker page, you need to go there now. So in the address box of your web browser, I'd like you to type www.resultswithkellen. That's www.resultswithkellan.com/Larry, Larry. You'll know that you're on the right page when you see Larry's beautiful picture there, and he talked about his bald head earlier. That's almost me, but his is balder. So when you see that picture, you'll know you're on the right page for Larry Hochman. Now, Larry, my friends, Larry has a free gift, especially for you as a thank you for coming on the interview today, and that gift is called How to Juggle and Change Your Life Forever. So, Larry, in a sentence or two, can you describe this free gift, How to Juggle and Change Your Life Forever?
Sure. It's a book, and it's one of those things, and you've written as well, Kellen. It's a book that I want to say I wrote it, but more accurately, it wrote me about 10 years ago when, in my experience as a high school guidance counselor. It's a story of 5 young people, young adults, about ready to go out into the world, and each of them has a challenge. Relationships, what they're going to do with their future. One of them is challenged by he's an overachiever, and he doesn't quite know what to do with that, and he's having a bit of a crisis. But how the process of learning how to juggle, and because there's 5 steps in that as well, it's the same 5 steps that we learned in How to Receive, but how each one of those young people use the process to really open up doors to themselves that they might not have found in other ways. And I'm fortunate that some of the people, actually pretty much everyone who's read it, has said, they're kind of mad at me because they stayed up till 3 in the morning reading it when they wanted to go to sleep, but they couldn't put it down.
Well, thank you. I want to just sincerely thank you for your willingness to prepare that gift for people for watching this interview, and express gratitude for that. Friends, I'll tell you in a minute just how to get your free thank you gift, but while you're on that page, I want you to find the special offer button. Okay, the special offer button is big, it's orange, and it's not hard to find, so click on that special offer button right now, if you would, and you'll know that you're on the right page when you land on one that says Larry Hochman's How to Receive, or How to Awaken, Transform, and Ascend, so his special offer page. Now, on this page, you can read about this exclusive special offer that Larry has prepared just for those of you today who've listened to this interview. Larry, your package is called How to Receive, and we've talked a little bit about your thinking about that and teaching, but I'd like you to take a couple of sentences here and tell us about what's in this special offer package that you and your team have put together for the listeners today.
Sure. There's a book that and it's a pretty brief book because I've always tried to bring things down to the most efficient way possible. There's a book, How to Receive, the steps that we're talking about now, very step by step in terms of how to do it. But again, the skills, the personal qualities that you need to access before you can actually begin the process of receiving. Real cool book in PDF format. The audio series that goes along with it. And this is 8 hours of a live class that I ran a little bit ago, where we're going through things, kind of to the point where you get comfortable with the process. People felt really good walking out of that class, and it's cool because I'm challenging folks in that, and I'm challenging people to move out of their comfort zones and to live something that they kind of glimpsed, but they were never they were able to reach it but not grasp it. So they felt good with the challenge. So 8 hours of audio that you can pop into MP3, take with you, sleep learn it, listen to it while you're driving. Some special seminars that are going to be live, exclusive to the people who grab this offer, where we really do plug things into your own life situations, because as much as the process is important, and it really is, we get to the point where you're going through the things that are all about you, and you're going through your own individual life circumstances, and some folks will say, well, how do I make this work for me and XYZ thing that I'm trying to do? And I've had some, in all honesty, Kellen, I've had some really good success helping people move the process into their own life. I've helped people, find relationships. I've helped a few marriages come along. I've helped people. My friend flies under the radar, but I've created a multimillionaire. I've helped some people get book deals, and it's because of the process that we have going here. So someone will look at it and say, well, that's great, but how do I make it work for the thing that I want to do? And the bonus that I'm offering here is how we plug it into your thing. We make it real and we make it actionable for you.
Thank you. That's very, very generous. I'm looking over here the offer page that you and your team have put together, and it's really good. Friends, if you'd like to take Larry up on his and his special offer at this exclusive 90% discount, I'd like you to scroll up to the top of the screen and then click on the Add to Cart button, and the rest is easy. Just fill in the form and then click the Submit button. And also remember, in a minute, I'll be telling you how to get access to that free gift just for listening to this interview. So, Larry, I have a couple of other questions here. There's so many people that talk about the power of the mind, and it's kind of chic right now to talk about attraction, and we create things, and thoughts are things, and that's kind of in the lexicon these days. Typical jargon, I suppose. But there's also then the courses that all go around and say, well, I tried it and it didn't work. Talk to me about what it is that makes this different.
You know what? I'm going to give the answer that it may not be the most politically correct answer, but that doesn't usually stop me. The courses, and there are going to be people who, and we're going to be adults here. There have been people who've gotten my course and it hasn't worked for them. Or I'm going to be more specifically, they haven't worked for it. Do I have the best course in the world? Well, I think so, because of course I wrote it, so I take ownership of it. Are there fantastic courses out there? Absolutely. There's hundreds of years worth of great courses, starting with the Bible. I mean, if you want to look at it that way, it really is. Um, the stuff works when you are ready. And if there's one thing that stops people from utilizing some really great stuff, it's what I said before. They are not in a mental or emotional and sometimes physical place where they're ready to take it in. And we'll look at any number of the how-to stuff that's out there. It's great stuff. Almost all of the how-to stuff that I've seen that's written by pinnacle people, the leaders in their field, it's dead on. But if I don't have the tools to make it work, I can give you the greatest course on how to build a house. But if I don't give you a hammer, if I don't give you a ruler, if I don't give you the tools, it doesn't matter. So this course that I put together, basically what it does, and juggling is one of the goofy, fun little things that kind of validates it. But this course gives you the tools to do anything else, and I'm looking right in the blue dot camera here. This course gives you the tools to do anything that you want to do. It gives you the emotional maturity. It gives you the sense of play, and it gives you the sense of self-worth to take advantage of everything that's out there. And that's really the key difference between that and some of the other things that I've seen.
Okay, thank you. So we talked a lot, or you talked a good bit, and it resonates with me about the way we see ourselves. We see ourselves as negative. I certainly know that as a child, I struggled with my own huge demons of self-worth. I spoke in the very beginning of the show about how I was an overachiever and have achieved 3 or 4 lifetimes worth of stuff by some measures. And that may have come from this intense fear of being inadequate. I don't know. We'll discuss that maybe another time. But I know that the negative image we hold of ourselves, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, it's for somebody else, not me, I'm not okay, kind of feeling. I know that is prevalent. I see it all the time. I'm sure you do in your coaching as well. So what I'd like you to do as a process is treat me a little bit as a guinea pig, and take me through just a few minutes here of what you would do with me, a micro coaching process. Teach me how to get rid of some of this negative baggage. You said I had to shed the baggage. Well, I'm ready. I'm tired of living in that kind of thing. So let's say I'm ready to shed it, but I really don't know how to do it.
Okay, so let's play around with this a little bit, and let's say what is this? Let's say there's a thing. What thing? And you're allowed to change your mind, because what happens often is people start out with saying something that they want, and then they come to find out that they're worthy of a lot more. So if somebody says I want to lose 10 pounds, turns out they want to lose 100. They just said 10 as a safe number because that was within their frame of reference. And so, Kellen, what is it that you're here with me for? How can I help you?
I want to multiply my business income, and I'm speaking as a proxy for many of the members of the audience. I want to multiply my business income by 10 times in the next 12 months.
Okay, so your business, we're going to say just for fun, is real estate. Or you know what? Let's do one that's a little bit more that's typical. Your business is network marketing, and you're in a program, and you love the program, and you love the products. So your job is to let people know what you're doing. So let's start with this. How do you feel about you? If you were looking at you, pretend that there's this guy that you're looking at, and he looks exactly like you, and he's talking exactly like you talk. What's your response to this person?
I'm not sure I quite followed it, but let me answer it. I think what you're asking. When I think about multiplying my income by any number that's bigger than the little one, I get a feeling of fear in my stomach. I get a feeling of there's going to be lots of things that get in the way, that life will get in the way, that the economy's not good. And so I'm afraid also when I go talk to people that they're going to reject me anyway, and they're really not going to want to talk about it, and they're going to think another goofball selling a product.
Okay, so You want to multiply your income by 10 times. Let me ask you this. What happens if in the next, we'll be realistic about this, if in the next 60 days you multiply your income by 50%? So let's say, in fact, let's be realistic because you're making $500 a month right now, and what happens, how do you feel about the idea of making $750 instead of 500 within the next 60 days? Does that work for you?
I could do that. I could
Okay.
absolutely do that. That's
Because
something
what
I
we're
didn't see.
good because you're expanding your skills. We'll say this much. Now, the great news about this whole thing is once you unlock the key to expanding your skills to the point where you've made 50% more money, then it's just a matter of ratio. Because if you can do this, and I don't know if my screen's big enough, but if you can do this, then we're going to teach you how to do this. And the difference between this, increasing them by 50%, and increasing them by 10 times is stupefyingly simple. Because it's all about unlocking what's inside you. So we're going to go back, and we're going to say how, I'm going to bounce you back to the original question. There's a guy who's wearing a striped shirt and has this really cool background behind him, and he's really handsome, and he's got a goatee and everything, and he says whatever is in your company's playbook, if I can show you a way to make an extra $500, or are you looking for a way to expand your income? And that guy says those things. How are you responding to that guy, the words and the energy?
Yeah, he's another guy just selling me some stuff. I don't have time.
Okay, well, your number one problem, and it's fixable, is that you don't believe your own stuff. So we're going to get you to the point where you're feeling good about you. So the things that happen and the energy that happens in that particular industry, and we all know what it is, where somebody says, and you don't understand the word they're saying, or more likely they're texting you or they're emailing you some gobbledygook that we all recognize as sales speak that nobody's attracted to. We're going to move you from that to, you know what? I've got something that can help you. You need to take a look at it, and you need to take a look at it now. Now, what's the energy behind that?
When you said what you, in my reaction to my sort of my gesture of I don't want to hear this. You referred to it. You said you don't believe your own stuff, and then you referred to the gobbledygook and sales speak. That actually resonated with me in terms of it reflecting something that I felt. Both when I've been approached with biz ops, okay, somebody comes and wants to do something and I feel just like that, but then also me personally when I thought about some kind of expansion, it probably won't happen. And so when you said you don't believe your own stuff, it struck a chord in me that said, hey, I don't, and then the obvious conclusion was, well, if I don't believe it, how am I going to how am I going to help anybody else? So that's my reaction to that piece right there.
It's always that. It is always, always, always that. So we're gonna, and then it, excuse my language, it pisses people off, but we always bring them back to the basics. And they say, oh no, you're not going to do that meditation stuff with me again. And I'm going to say, yeah, you know what? Everything that you want starts with feeling like a worthy representative, feeling worthy of yourself, and then having the energy and and the big C word, confidence, to bring it out, to smile, to look at this person and genuinely know, not believe, genuinely know that you have something that can help them. And whether it's sales or whether it's you as a relationship partner or whether it's you as somebody to hang out with or whether it's you within yourself to feel that health, that confidence and that self-worth unlocks the door to the 50%. And then as you expand your skills, it unlocks the door to making twice as much, or from losing 10 pounds to losing 20 pounds. Or it unlocks the door to, losing the 100 pounds that I need to lose, or to making 10 times what I've got. It's all part of the same process. It's just expanding who you are to yourself and letting that radiate out to the world. That's all it is.
Thank you. Friends, by now you should have been to the special offer page. If you haven't, here I'll give you the link to Larry's page one more time, www.resultswithkellen.com /Larry. So type that into your browser box if you haven't, and go to that page. On that page, look for the special offer button and click on that special offer button now. Now, on that special offer page, as I mentioned, you can read all about the exclusive offer that Larry's put together for you, just for listening today to this interview. So take a look at that. There's a bullet right under how to receive. You will discover, and this is what he was just talking about, 5 common myths that prevent you from using your God-given talents. When I saw that on the page, it really struck with me, because one of the things I think about a lot is how to best use my God-given talents. And so right there, go ahead, take a look at that page, and you'll see right there in those places where he has everything he's got to say about the 5 myths and how to break them to get the most out of your own God-given talents. So take a look and go ahead and take advantage of Larry Hochman's How to Receive package at this exclusive 90% discount that he has prepared for us. So click the Add to Cart button now. And the rest is easy. Just fill out the form and then click the Submit Order button. So, you know, there's some questions that have come in from listeners as we've been talking about this, and I'd like to refer to them and get some thoughts on this. There are many, and we'll get to as many as we can here in the next few minutes. But I'd like to give you a shot at it, and it's interesting because the first one is right to that point that I was talking about on your special offer. What would you say if someone said, I don't, and I've heard this, and I'm sure you have too, what do I do if I don't really have any God-given gifts or talents?
Well, first of all, you'll certainly stop breathing. Then because everyone has something, and it's not necessarily. My quick answer to that is I wasn't born learning how to juggle. I wasn't born. I didn't come out doing the thing. It came out of desire. If you think you have no talents, it's because you haven't permitted yourself the desire to find them, because you haven't. You've been risk averse. You haven't trusted yourself to take some chances. You don't know what you are capable of until you get out on the dance floor and do more. So you don't think you have anything, I'm going to invite you out, or more accurately, I'm going to invite you in within yourself and find stuff that you're not seeing right now. But when you get a little bit more confidence and a little bit more self-respect, you're going to find the desire, but fast. And that is when you're going to let yourself use those talents and turn them into skills and turn them into things that you can do. That's my answer to that.
That's funny you said I invite you out on the dance floor, and my mind immediately went back to the time in my life when I might have thought those things, which was when I was a teenager, and the thought of being out on the dance floor and asking a girl to dance was terrifying, and here I am a few years later with no fear of those kinds of things and happily married. So your answer made a lot of sense to me. So here's another question. You know, sometimes we try to do things ourselves, and there's lots of courses and things that are sort of all do-it-yourself. One of the things that I saw that you mentioned, and the question is this: is there help available, or do I have to do this for myself? So I know that you mentioned some things in your special offer about that. So the question is there help available, or do I have to do this for myself?
There's always help available. That's step 3 of the How to Receive process. Once you get into action, and once you start identifying yourself to the world as somebody who takes chances, as somebody, and we're not talking leave it all out on the floor. We're talking about growing a little bit. You know, we're talking about manage risks. You'll never do it alone, because you will identify yourself to leaders, to the Kellens of the world, to the Larrys of the world, to the insert the name of somebody you respect, who's going to want to help you, because they identify that person. Look, 10 years ago, I was at 10, 11 years ago, I was at one of my lowest points where I didn't see myself as anything. And I made some decisions then that I didn't want to be old before my time. I didn't want the direction of my life to continue where it was. And I took some chances. And because of those chances, people recognized, and again, we're not talking major talent, we're just talking about desire. People recognized a fellow traveler, and they invested their energy into me. When you do the stuff, when you get out on that dance floor that we were talking about, you'll never be alone. You'll always, always, without exception, find the help. It'll come to you as much as you go to it.
Thank you. And so the next question I have is, again, a question that came in from a user, but it's something that resonates with me, and that is, you talk about personal magnetism, and you just now in that answer talked about attracting help to you. One of the things I personally struggled with when I was younger was self-esteem and whether or not I was important or could attract. Yeah, I guess when I was a teenager, I was worried about a girl, but just the idea of attracting that help. So what do I do if I don't feel like I can attract? I don't feel attractive. Talk about that, because that's certainly something that is in this question and something that I certainly resonate with as well.
You're not going to will yourself to feel more attractive. This is part of the process that I use with people, and there's a very, very specific, scientifically validated process, and that's where we talk about anchor behaviors. It's a form of biofeedback, but what you're gonna do, because we all have these moments in our lives, you're gonna go back and you're gonna look at times where you felt good. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be attractive. I can go back and recognize that time when I struck out all those people when I was playing baseball. And I'm going to choose not to think about the time where I was afraid to take the bat off my shoulder, because I'm a baseball guy, so that's just the example I use. And then I'm going to remember my firstborn child, because that's an easy one. But I'm going to remember those times, and I'm going to amplify them. And then I'm going to look for things that are going right in my life, and I'm going to make that my narrative. That's a huge word in how I teach. I'm going to make that the story I tell myself about myself. And I'm going to take that story and I'm going to pair it with some specific behaviors so that I'm not thinking in terms of what I can't do. I'm amplifying and making real the things that I can do. And I draw more of those things to me, because that becomes my dominant energy. Very specific process that I use when I bring people to that place.
So there's another question here that I get literally all the time, and I'm sure you do too, and it's repeated 3 or 4 times here, and that is, how do I know this will work for me? Or another version is, how do I know this kind of help will work for my special circumstance?
Because you're going to be the architect of it. Because I don't claim, and this may be a difference between some of the other folks and what I do. I don't have an expertise in how to be a great architect. I don't have an expertise in how to be Mr. Universe. I'm a almost 50-year-old, pretty in good shape guy, so I can help there more than others might. But the process is infallible. Again, I'm looking at that blue dot camera. The process is infallible because it's inevitable, because we have failure built into the process. Everything that we learn, and I'm not telling any secrets here, but we tend to forget this. Everything that we learn is a 2-step forward, 1-step back process. So what that question really is how do I deal with the failure that is inevitably going to come? And the answer to that is you recognize that failure is a crucial, important step on the road to success. It's inevitable. Will it work for you? Of course. You give it enough time, you learn everything. You'll enjoy the process as well, because you draw the energy to you, you draw the resources to you, you learn how to take the chances, you learn how to work through all the failure and actually welcome it. And that's what keeps you pushing towards the thing, rather than in the artificial barriers you put on yourself.
You know, that thing you just said about failure being inevitable, I guess, really also resonates with me, because it's something I had to learn, that failure was just part of the process and didn't reflect on my own personal value. So this is actually how you get your free thank you gift, friends, and I'm glad you have stuck with us to get it. So you need to be on the special offer page, and if you haven't been on that page yet, let's go to www.resultswithkellen.com/Larry, and to get to that to get to the thank you gift, you need to click on the special offer button, that orange button that's on that page there, and then scroll down to the bottom and look for the box that says Larry Hochman's thank you gift. It's got red dotted lines around it, and you can't miss it. So it's easy to find at the bottom. Red dots, red dotted lines around a box labeled Larry Hochman's thank you gift. Fill in your name and email address. So put your name and email address and hit the send button. And within moments, we will automatically send you the link to access that free thank you gift. For you that joined the interview late and missed some of what we spoke about, don't worry. We'll be posting a replay up soon, and we'll leave it up for 72 hours. Now, if you want to share this free replay with someone, a friend, or other friends that you have, that's great. We'd like you to do that and send them to www.resultswithkellen.com. www.resultswithkellen.com. And we'd love you to share during the 72 hours this replay with someone by sending them to that www.resultswithkellen.com. And also, if you haven't already done it, now is the time to take advantage of Larry Hochman's How to Receive exclusive special offer at this really exclusive 90% discount. So just click on the Add to Cart button right now. And the rest is easy. Just fill in the form and hit the Submit button. Friends, thank you for listening to this interview today. Larry, you know, we've got pages and pages of more questions, but we've run out of time. So thank you for sharing your insights with us today.
It's total pleasure. I appreciate being here, Kellen.
All righty. Bye-bye now. Excuse me. Bye for now, my friends.